Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here for this special session of the City Council CLXC Community Redevelopment Agency, Successor Agency, CLXC Finance Authority. Today, April 23rd, Monday, 12:30 p.m. For the record, it's beginning at 12:39. Let the record show that the call to order for the Deputy Clerk. 4 council members are here. Mayor Pro Tem Hurtado is not able to make it. So we can start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Jennifer?
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Moreno, second by Mr. Hodge. Please press the button to display your vote. If they vote, if it moves, if it turns on.
I got yes here.
All right, let's just go by voice. Those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. 4-0. The one missing from Mayor Pro Tem Hurtado, who's not present. Okay, next is the public comments. Since this is a special session and not a regular session, we will not have public comments today. Besides, there's only one item in the agenda, and we can address it then.
Mr. Mayor, it's just that public comments are limited to the items on the agenda, so you would just take those when you get to that agenda item?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, then let's go with the general fund departments, public hearing. Public hearing to consider amended and restated resolutions for uniform application number 2011-03, Grand Plaza Outlet Shopping Center, which include amended and restated resolution for certification of final environmental impact report, FEIR, CH number 2008-111004, amended and restated resolutions approving a general plan amendment, tentative subdivision map, redevelopment review and variance, and an amended and restated ordinance approving a zone change for CLXC Ground Plaza, first considered and approved by the Planning Commission on November 28, 2011, and by this City Council on December 20th, 2011. I'll direct it now to the City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The public hearing before you today is to consider the amended and restated resolutions regarding certification of the EIR and project entitlements for the Grand Plaza project. Those were originally approved by this council on December 20th, 2011. As the council and the city is well aware, this project has been in the process of receiving entitlements since 2008, which means many public notices and hearings have been held. However, within about an hour of your public hearing on December 20th, some last-minute objections were raised. Those late comments fall into 4 categories, which are traffic, the variance, noise, and urban decay. And the issues are explained in more detail in the staff report that the council has before it this afternoon. The staff report simply highlights, explains the information in the project's final EIR that rebuts the last-minute objections that were made. Today, the city's traffic engineer is here. He also provided some information with respect to those comments, and he will be here to elaborate related to that. Embodied in your staff report, there are various exhibits that have been added, again, to explain how the final EIR for the project rebuts these comments that were made by at the last minute. For the record, the city did receive some last-minute communications on April 17th. As you know, this hearing was noticed for April 17th, and on April 17th, you continued the hearing to today, a date and time certain. The last-minute communications that came in on April 17th before the public hearing on that day was an email from John McClendon, an email from Corey Briggs. Today, staff has presented 2 items that are different from what was in the staff report that was posted on Friday. So I just want to highlight that, and copies have been made available in the back as well as to the council. One of them is that Exhibit 4A, it's a letter from Lynn Scott Law and Greenspan related to the Mega Park project. It's an updated letter, and it's Exhibit 4A in the packet. The other one is will be a new exhibit. It's not listed in the staff report, but it's a report from Nicholas Carlson of URS. This is the person who was the city's consultant and wrote the urban decay analysis in the original EIR for this project. He has reviewed and responded to the late comments submitted by John McClendon on April 17th, 2012, with respect to the report that Mr. McClendon submitted. So our consultant has reviewed that report and has submitted a comment memo in response to that, and so that will also be put into the record today. At this point, staff is recommending that the council hold the public hearing, receive public comments, and approve the attached amended and restated resolutions and amended and restated ordinance. By taking those actions, if council does do that, that will completely supersede the approvals that council did on December 20th, 2011. And at this time, I believe if Mr. John Borman is available, the city's traffic consultant, he can present the information, the explanation related to the traffic issues and the objections that were made. And after that, I believe the applicant would like to speak with respect to some of the issues also. Yes.
Hi, my name is John Borman. I'm a principal with Linscott Law and Greenspan Traffic Engineers, and we're the city's traffic consultant for this project. We did the EIR traffic study. We did a new supplemental report that Ms. Lyon talked about. The original EIR traffic study included 21 cumulative projects. Cumulative projects are other projects that will be built in the city, and also included a growth factor. And what it was determined is that a lot of those projects had been withdrawn and were on hold, and it was really too worse of a case of a traffic analysis. So we were asked to look back at that and do a more realistic traffic snapshot, if you will, of what the situation is under current conditions. Because, like I said, a lot of those projects have been withdrawn or were inactive. So we did a supplemental report that Ms. Lyon talked about. This analysis resulted in much less volumes because instead of 21 cumulative projects, there are 8 cumulative projects that we feel are reasonably foreseeable. And so since the number of projects dropped so much, the overall traffic volumes that we need to accommodate are much less. But despite that much less volume, much less total traffic we need to accommodate, we're still recommending the same mitigation measures that were in the original EIR that we did. A couple more points I want to make is, first of all, we all know the border station crossing is coming, and that's going to be very much a positive in terms of traffic flows in this area. But we did not assume that was in the pre-project conditions. So we know that's coming. That will certainly help things, but our analysis did not assume that was in before the project. I want to point that out. Lastly, regarding general plan consistency, the project does not cause any intersection or segment to drop from LOS-C or better down to LOS-D or worse, which would be in violation of your general plan with mitigation, and that's on any city street. So again, the project does not cause any city intersection or city street segment to drop from level service C or better, which is acceptable, to level service D or worse, which is not acceptable on city streets, and that would be consistent with their general plan language. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions now or later on.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Honorable City Council and members of the public. My name is Melissa Hathaway McKeith, and I'm representing the developer, the Charles Company, in this matter, and I'm going to spend a little bit more time than Mr. Borman did going over a few key points. And if along the way you have questions, please stop and ask them, because there's a lot of confusing information that's been provided over a 3-year period of time, and I want to make sure that the record is clear and that all of the concerns or questions of the city and the audience are answered. Just a little bit of background. I actually have been working on the border about 25 years. I started in Ciudad Juarez. I used to represent GM and Kodak and other U.S. companies that were opening up maquiladoras in the area. So I have a lot of familiarity with environmental justice issues on the border, did a lot of work with Pan American and U.S.-Mexico border health. I've done a lot of work in the Mexicali Valley. In fact, my mother had a business, and in the 70s, she was doing work in Mexicali, so I feel like it's in my genes. And when the Gabays, the owners of the Charles Company, called to say that they had been sued over this project and asked whether I would come back to Imperial Valley and help them, I was very proud to be able to do that. One of the reasons is, as you know, their project is right on the New River. We've been waiting for improvements on the New River since, I think, President Kennedy was in office. The fact that there will be development along the New River, I think, will likely accelerate that. I've been west of 111 to know what things are like there. And I think that this is going to be a significant project, particularly at this economic time in Calexico and in Mexicali's history, to help knit together the downtown area and bring in revenue. So let me go through over some of the environmental issues. Ms. Lyon mentioned that before the December hearing, 1 hour before, you got objections. We agreed to continue it, or the city attorney, Mr. Hogan, who's here today, the outside expert CEQA lawyer, agreed to have that continued to January 10, the day before the city was sued. So we didn't go forward on the 10th. We wanted to take a look at things and make sure that all of our I's were dotted and T's were crossed. Again, we noticed a hearing on April 17th. We gave special notice 10 days in advance to the objectors, who are apparently owners of property in the northern part of the city, swap meet owners, and a non-governmental organization called CREED on behalf of Corey Briggs. And I don't know if anyone is here from that organization to speak today. They have not been in the past. And from some of the comments, as you will hear, I don't believe they are very familiar with the border area. We got comments right before that hearing because some of the links to the staff report hadn't gone up online, and we agreed to continue it today. We made sure they had a link to all of the documents that went up online. We've submitted a couple additional documents since the 17th. I just want to go over very quickly. Your city attorney got some, but not all. We were able to do a response to the latest criticism of the urban decay study that was done by Nick Carlson. He was the city's original urban decay expert. I'll talk about that in a little detail. We have an updated letter from Mr. Borman at LLG that specifies the cumulative impacts of the megapark, a project that did not exist at the time we first filed our application in December 2007, is not going to create an issue since Grand Plaza does not affect the intersection at Jasper and 111 that is of concern with the megapark. We have some additional documentation from Caltrans that confirms that the mitigation that would be required on S11 and 2nd is not feasible with their right-of-ways. And we have submitted some photographs from the Almirada swap meet to be able to discuss where our project differs extensively. Now, very fast, this project started in 2007. The first traffic study, as Mr. Borman said, was done based on 2008 counts, and it was based on 2008 projects. In 2008, as everybody knows, the valley was booming, just like most places in the United States. So he included a 10% growth rate. So as is indicated in the staff report, this was the most conservative type of an analysis of what our future would look like in Calexico. Fast forward to 2011, times have changed. We had the subprime crisis. A lot of the projects went off the table completely. Whether or not they come back, we don't know. But based on 2011 traffic counts that were taken, the growth in this area appears more to be flat than growing. The other important thing that happened in 2010 is that the General Services Administration completed its environmental review, and it approved projects for the West Border Crossing. Congress authorized those projects. And in December 2011, when the City Council voted in favor of the project, it was our understanding that that construction would commence roughly sometime in the foreseeable future, and certainly before we started commencing our construction. When Congress adjourned, they did not include the West Border Crossing in the 2012 budget. So that was when we did a traffic analysis back in the latter part of 2011, we assumed a future baseline. What did life look like when the border crossing was built? Because as everyone here knows, being local, that's going to move a lot of traffic off of 111 onto Cesar Chavez when Cesar Chavez is expanded. So we're now in 2012, and the city goes back to LLG and says, wait a second, take another look. Look at today's cumulative analysis, look at today's predictions, look at the traffic report that the developer submitted in the fall, and tell us independently whether or not you think the environmental impacts report that was done and the mitigation in that report is adequate to address all of the impacts that were identified in the earlier EIR. And as Mr. Borman testified today and as is in his supplemental study, the answer to that is yes. We're in a bit of a traffic purgatory. Maybe we get the border crossing, maybe we don't get the border crossing, but for purposes of the legality of the environmental impact report that was circulated to the public in 2010 and 2011, we meaning the Charles Company and the developer, are adopting all, and I believe the city is, in the resolutions, will be adopting all of the prior mitigation. So we've looked once, we've looked twice, we've looked 3 times. We think we have completely addressed these issues. One last comment on traffic, which is never interesting, but important in the CEQA world. A lot of people play a lot of games with traffic. And when you're opposing projects, which I have from time to time, the first place you look. One of the challenges is that the courts are not very certain about whether you use an existing baseline or a future baseline. So for purposes of this project, we looked at it both ways. And as your traffic engineer has indicated, they went back to the original base, an updated baseline based on current conditions, plus project impacts, and we adopted all of the prior mitigation. So the upshot of that is there's going to be less traffic than we anticipated in 2008, but we're mitigating it the same way. A couple other issues that were raised by the opponents, and then I will sit down or answer questions. A variance. The variance was granted previously by the Planning Commission. It called for big pylon signs, some standalone signs. We have revised the variance so that the only portion of the shopping center that exceeds your ordinary municipal code height are 2 architectural towers. And I believe Mr. Hawley, who's here, or another participant, and it's in your staff report, you can see what those towers look like. They are consistent with other signage height in the city, and that eliminates any of the complaints that were submitted with respect to that particular variance, and we believe there's substantial evidence in the record now that clearly supports that that variance is appropriate. Obviously, we're off to the west a little bit. It would be nice to have big 100-feet signs, but as I explained to the client, people are going to know you're in Calexico. They're going to know where your center is, and I don't think that we're the same as if we were in Los Angeles or another area. And the final issue I'll talk about briefly is urban decay. You know, you've all heard the joke, when Mexicali sneezes, Calexico catches a pneumonia. I don't think that the person who drafted the urban decay study for the opponents has ever heard that joke, because he looked at a market analysis that did not take into consideration Mexicali customers who drive through Calexico on their way to El Centro, or drive through Calexico on their way to Viejas or to San Diego. Unbeknownst to many Americans, there's quite a bit of wealth and economic stability in Mexicali, and we depend tremendously on that market for purchases in the Imperial Valley and elsewhere. The shopping center we're talking about, it's not a Walmart, it's not a discount type of merchandise like you might see at the swap meets. These are retail malls, and we can talk a little bit about the tenant list in a minute, that are very similar to the Mall of the Americas, to a smaller version of Cabazon, maybe if you've been out to Barstow. But this is more upscale shopping. Our target market is not going to be the discount market. So that's the first flaw in that study. And the second is sort of this assumption that we're not part of downtown. And actually, there'll be a shuttle that runs from the central border to our shopping center. It'll circulate through downtown, and in fact, all of those additional visitors that you may receive here in Calexico will get linked to downtown as opposed to separated from it. We did submit a supplemental traffic study, a supplemental urban decay study that goes line by line through the criticisms that were received last week. I can assure you that it details shows where there is a market demand for the kind of center that the Charles Company has. So in closing, I've known this area a long time, and a shopping center of this quality is going to do nothing but add both to the aesthetics of the area, especially in the area of the New River. We've needed that. We're very fortunate to have a developer who's willing to actually take the risk of trying to build something right on the border. I really commend you for doing that. I think it's going to add a lot to Calexico, and I hope this time around we've gotten through all the nicks and pings of the people who are challenging the project. So thank you very much. Any questions?
Yes, Ms. Melissa McKeith, correct?
Yes.
Before we open the public hearing, as mayor and chairing this meeting, I must ask the following question before we move forward. Ms. McKeith, you on behalf of the project applicant, do you understand that the December 20, 2011 project approvals and entitlements will be superseded if council approves the resolutions and ordinances today?
Yes.
You do understand, okay?
Yes.
If so, you agree and understand that the project must abide by the approvals and entitlements as presented and approved at this hearing today on April 23rd, 2012.
That's correct.
And I will ask city manager or some other staff member to confirm that Ms. Melissa McKeith has been the representative for this project?
And Mr. Hawley is here too, if you'd
Yes.
like
No,
him
I
to.
understand that,
Yeah.
but it's just a confirmation from your
Yes.
statement.
Yes, I believe Ms. McKeith is acting on behalf of Charles Company today, Corsair.
Okay. I just wanted to confirm all that for the record. All right, then I guess we'll go forward and open the public hearing.
Okay. One last thing, point of personal privilege. I worked hard on getting that armory property for the city, so I hope you don't give up on it just because it's taken a long time to build. Thank
No,
you.
thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll open the public hearing, April 23rd, 1:01 p.m. Invite, okay. Anybody that wished to speak against the Calexico Grand Plaza Shopping Center, please come forward. Mr. Oscar Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, members of the City Council, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Oscar Gonzalez. I was born and raised here in Calexico. Graduated with a class of 1966. Graduated from the University of California, Santa Barbara, 1971. Graduated from Cal State Northridge, 1972. Graduated from Fresno State with an economics major. And then I came back. I got hired at Cal State Stanislaus to be the director of Upward Bound, EOP, and Talent Search. Decided to come back 1976, became the director of Neighborhood House for 1 year, and then I got hired as the first affirmative action officer for the County of Imperial. And I was that for 10 years. My wife was a teacher at Maine's for about 37 years. She just retired 2 years ago. I have 3 kids. They're all bull puppies. They're bulldogs, like their dad. And I became a member of the Community Action Council, the most powerful community-based organization in the Southwest. Before I got here, they built Kennedy Gardens. They were also responsible for breaking away from Imperial Valley Housing Authority, and you have a housing authority in Calexico. That was Jack Ortega, Alex Campillo, Luis Legaspi, Spud Moreno, Willie Moreno, etc. That's why we have a housing authority today. And I thank them, because in 1960, there was a political Chicano revolution.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes. Well, she talked
The
about.
issue was
No,
on,
no, I know, but she talked about her background too. Let me finish. She talked about that, I'm just doing the same thing. And I was in the planning commission for over 15 years, number one. When I got here in 1975, the New River was an issue. It's always been an issue. It's been an issue since 1850, Camp Salvation. I think one of the historical sites you need to look at that the EIR doesn't focus. The New River was Pelican Bay. In 1898, when Americans formed CLXC, there was a lake there, but 1906, 1907, it destroyed it. That's a historical site. No EIR has ever focused on that. Secondly, the New River is the worst polluted river in the world. And when I was a member of CCAC for 17 years, we were concerned with economic. We worked, but a lot of the people fought us, including John Moreno's uncle, Raleigh Carrillo, Ellen Hen, they fought us. But we were the ones responsible. When you see Walmart, when you see Carroll's, that was CCAC development. I think that the study is inappropriate because they don't focus that the decay is right across the street. When I got here, they had the Vaughan Shopping Center. And at that time, obviously, CLXC was growing. Look at how it is today. Look at the Vaughan Shop at Loyo, decrepit. The parking, the buildings, it's a ghost town. Look at downtown. I think what the city council should focus on redeveloping, revitalizing downtown. It's a ghost town. Big deal, wherever the consumers are gonna come down. We can't even keep the bathrooms clean downtown. We can't even keep the alleys. They smell like skunk. And we're gonna build a town center. The other thing, if we build it there, crime rate, the people from Mexicali, they're gonna jump over. Look at what they did to the golf course. Rosita's Plain Food. Maria Sordia was my girlfriend for 10 years. Her brother and Rosa run that. You tell them how many times they get robbed there. Hey, why do you want to build a castle in a decaying area? Why don't you build it in the new CLXC, the new port of entry, or north of CLXC where it's growing? The other thing, and I'm going to conclude, I saw the study. I've seen many EIRs in my lifetime, and it's very, very inappropriate. I don't care if it was an engineer. I've seen traffic engineers many times, Mr. Romero, maybe as old as you are. And this one doesn't, it's based on assumptions, and I want them to prove me wrong. When they say fact, it's an assumption. Look at the study. I don't know if you've had a chance to read it, Mr. Romero or Mr. Moreno or Mr. Hodge. They're assumptions.
don't forget Mr. Castro.
Huh? Mr. Castro. Well, he and I disagree, though. I want you to know that he and I had a heated discussion before I came here.
Yeah, but you asked his counsel if we reviewed it. You didn't ask Mr. Castro.
Okay, Mr. Castro, did you review it? Yes. Yeah, I know you did, because we discussed it. And I think when this lady talks about CLXC and Mexicali, well, it couldn't be dearer than CLXC to all of us that were born and raised. You know, I'm for progress. But sometimes when you have progress, that doesn't mean it's going to go forward. And she talked about decay. Look at across the street. The UFW buildings there. It could be used for an alcoholic recovering center. But we don't have ideas. We're not creative here in CLXC. So I'm opposed to it, every inch of it.
All right, sir.
Wait a minute, let me finish.
You are, I thought you already did.
No,
Mr. Gonzalez,
let me
well,
finish.
I am going to add right now that the reason I gave Ms. McKeith additional time is because she made the presentation.
Yeah, but
I'm only allowing you 3 minutes, and you've already
No,
gone
no,
6
no, sir.
minutes.
Let me say one thing, Mr. Romero.
You can say what you wish.
Listen, I know you weren't a good student in high school.
And how can you prove
No,
that?
because I know.
No, you don't.
No, I know.
No, you don't.
You weren't an A student.
No, you don't. You don't know
But
that.
anyway, democracy is not based on 3 minutes. Let me finish. If
You
want
have
to-
had
listen,
6 minutes,
listen,
and
give
that
me
is more
input.
than enough,
Let me
Mr.
give
Gonzalez.
input, you know.
You haven't given me input.
Well, I gave it already.
Okay, you already said right now,
No,
you
wait
gave
a
it
minute.
already, so can we go to the next speaker?
No, let me just finish.
I'll give you 1 more minute and not a minute more.
Okay. In conclusion, you know, we don't have any major super markets here. We don't have any major stores like Sears, Macy's, none of them. The bottom line, I think the crux of our business are swap meets, and they were the ones that adversely impacted downtown.
Do you know what kind of business they want to put in here?
Yes, I know.
And you're criticizing that we don't have it, and yet that's what they propose
Yeah,
to do.
but I don't agree that it should go there. That's what I'm saying.
They're the investor. They have a right to put whatever business
Let them
is in
do
it.
what they want then. If
That's
they
it.
get robbed all the time, fine.
I'm sure they'll
But
take every measure into
let me finish.
consideration.
You're cutting into my 3 minutes, sir.
You're-
And Mr.
You mean your 10 minutes?
Well, let me just finish. I'm not going to finish.
Well,
No más
please.
chance, viejo. You know, that's the problem that you have in conducting meetings. Give me a chance to finish.
Next time, you'll be given 3 minutes and not a minute more. Go ahead.
Pero déjame terminar, hombre.
Pues termina, por favor.
Ah, bueno. Y ojalá que no voten ahora. ¿Sabe por qué? Porque se hicieron la junta a las 2:30. Hagan la junta en la tarde. ¿A quién se le ocurre hacer una junta a las 2:30? Si quieren que tengan comentarios del público, háganlo otra vez y no vayan a aprobar. Ojalá que no aprueben nada ahora. Porque usted, Romero, y el señor Moreno are running for re-election, you know?
Okay, so you're
Thank
threatening
you.
with our re-elections. Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right. I just want to make that noted.
Yeah, I'm done.
Thank you.
And you're going to lose, though.
Thank you. I'm sure I won't be alone if I do. All right, thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Please don't ask for anything more. Mr. McClendon? Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good afternoon to you. I'm John McClendon here on behalf of Creed, Chick, and El Ramate, owned by the Estrada family. As you know, one of the large landowners here in town. I believe at one time they may have actually even owned this property. You've seen me here over the years many times, and I'm here today to try and help you make the right decision here. There was a rush to approval that happened last year. Unfortunately, that led to the necessity, because of statutory time limits, of Creed and Chick having to file a lawsuit. We're pleased today as we come back and see that some of the things that were challenged in that action, such as the variance, you've actually come back and fixed that. And since that time, we've had some settlement discussions, and we're hopeful that with some innovation and some creativity, a little bit of thinking outside the box, that we don't have to pursue this litigation any longer. In the past, I know Mayor Moreno and Councilman Romero that and I'll just put this into the record. I think I put it in last week. I'll just give it to your city clerk here. I think this was in 2008. I forewarned you when your former city manager, Ralph Velez, was playing fast and loose with your housing element. And I got your own memo there that the two of you wrote back to him in no uncertain terms, to which you attached the letter where basically I caught him cheating. I'm here in that same spirit to try and make this project right. I want to put in the, just so you have it, the pictures that were to be attached. They were too large of a file to email, but these are pictures of the downtown area, about 20-something pictures, which show the huge amount of urban decay that's already there in the downtown area. And I can tell you that Professor King, who is an expert on this, looked this urban decay analysis over and said that in all of his years, this is probably one of the worst that he's done. And he's done these up and down the state. The problem is not, as your staff report says, that they're arguing over expert conclusions. It's the data itself leads to the conclusions that Professor King reaches. Now, what's interesting about that is when I came in, I found this URS letter here that was written by the former ESA employee that did the urban decay analysis, trying to basically save face and repair the damage that was done by Professor King's memo. Now, I haven't looked this over, haven't had a chance to give it to Professor King, but for example, on page 7, it talks about this being an upscale retail center similar to the Mall of America. I've been to the Mall of America in Bloomington, Minnesota. This is no Mall of America. That's a 3-story mall, I think the largest one in the country. It mentions the Viejas Retail Center out there. I think if any of you have been out there recently, you've seen it's something of a ghost town, and that somehow, supposedly, that's competing in your space here. The reality here is that, and Professor King said it pained him to actually have to take issue with this because he does a lot of work with ESA and up north in the Bay Area, and said, frankly, this work product here on the urban decay analysis was rather embarrassing. The concern I have here is I'm seeing deja vu all over again, as Yogi Berra said, that what you have going on here is exactly a replay of what happened a few years ago in the town of Yucca Valley. It's a similar size town to your own. And there, they did a very rosy urban decay analysis. They made statements that were just patently false, like they did here, like in saying that the swap meet does not compete in this outlet sector, when in fact, some of the major vendors throughout the United States, the Calvin Klein types, the Tommy Hilfigers, you go to the El Ramate swap meet, they're selling these items already. In other words, you already have an outlet mall in your town, and you have for 40 years, it's El Ramate, okay? This urban decay analysis didn't even discuss that property, incredibly didn't discuss it. So what I want to do is put this into the record too. I've got a couple of copies here. These are the papers from the lawsuit that resulted in the town of Yucca Valley action. And what happened there was the trial court, in a situation like this where the consultant that did the urban decay analysis came back and tried to fix it by refuting Dr. King, he only made it worse. And in the end of the day, the judge said, and you'll see it in the judge's order, it wasn't just the information in Dr. King's report, but it was the information in something like this, what you're getting today, that sealed their fate on that project. Now, I particularly want you to look at part 4 of that, because what that is that's a letter that was written by my clients and Walmart and the others, and this was after the intervention of the California State Attorney General worked for over more than a year to bring the parties together to broker this. And what we did here was we reached an innovative solution here, where the solution was that we was that the Walmart agreed to put in a total of 500 kilovolts of solar, 250,000, I think, on their rooftop, and then another 250 at another location. Walmart also agreed to do $120,000 in a mitigation for their conservation area out there in the Mojave region. The most amazing thing that we reached in this settlement was that we got the town of Yucca Valley an urban strategies report that would be funded by the developer to say, look, we've got this question on urban decay. We know we've got a struggling downtown just like you have. You fund a study that will allow us to look at that urban decay and figure out options for what we have going forward. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Cosmont company. Larry Cosmont, he's one of the most reputable financial analyst people working in the public sector. The Cosmont companies did a retail sector strategies report to help revitalize the downtown area and help revitalize the retail economy in Yucca Valley. That's something that could be done here. The other thing I just want to say in closing is I want to pass these out. And these are very interesting. This is off your former planner, Armando Villa. This is his department at the county. These are the county's solar farm projects. And on the back of this is a little puff piece that Tesco did, touting a 500,000 square foot solar array in Riverside County that it put on top of its flat roof in order to mitigate its greenhouse gas emissions, and it says that in this manufacturing facility, it generates over 75% of the entire facility's energy from this array. These are some of the solutions we're talking about in settlement with the developer, and these are the kind of things that we would like to see moving forward here. And I've got copies, I think, for each of you on these. They're color, and I think they have they tell quite a story with your county being kind of a major solar center in the Imperial County here. And the amazing thing is that you look at this, and I've already gotten some calls from some farmers here in Imperial County. One project alone is 1,900 acres. The solar companies, First Solar, for example, is going out to the west end, buying 1,900 acres of prime farmland to cover it with thin film photovoltaic to generate electricity. If they can do that out in the middle of nowhere and then have the infrastructure and everything, all the more you can do it right here in the downtown area on flat roofs where this kind of thing, you've got the users and the consumers of that electricity right here, and they don't have to buy the property. Those roofs are already going to be there. So I just appreciate your time. Here's what I would suggest you do. The developer will probably disagree. I think you ought to take at least two sections of the EIR, and CEQA allows you to do this. You can take the urban decay analysis, you can take the traffic analysis, recirculate that for public review and comment, and then bring it back. I think you'd have a stronger project here, and you would obviate any need for, you'd vet this thing fully with your community, and you'd obviate any need for anyone to bring any further litigation. Again, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Thank you, Mr. McConnell. Anybody else not in favor of the Ground Plaza project? Okay, we'll begin with anybody here to speak in favor of the Ground Plaza project, shopping center project. Mr. Fuentes?
Honorable Mayor, council members, city manager, staff, can you hear me there? If we're all giving backgrounds, should I give some backgrounds as well?
You keep it down to 5 minutes.
It's okay, thank you very much.
But I will briefly, though. My name is Luis Fuentes. I'm a resident of Calexico, born and raised here at the city hospital. I also was president of De Anza Junior High, freshman class president, junior class president, senior class site council, school board rep. I went to Berkeley in 1993, ran for student senate there, decided to come back. I majored in economics, I minored in business, and I also did my pre-med. Started medical school, and I decided it wasn't for me. I should be able to live wherever I wanted to, and I wanted to live in Calexico. So I came back. I'm a business owner. I've been in the political life in this area. I was the founding president of the Imperial Valley Economic Development Corporation, which is in its 12th year now. I wrote one of the applications that helped an enterprise zone be created in Imperial Valley. I helped Danny Fitzgerald organization. Where is he? Over there. I am a founding member of the Instituto de Desarrollo Económico at CETIS University. I'm also a graduate of the only economic development program in the country at the University of Oklahoma. And I love this city more than anything. So I wanted to put for the record a letter that was written in November 14th of 2010, which is addressed Honorable Mayor, City of Calexico, regarding the Grand Plaza. I wanted to express my continued support for the Grand Plaza Outlet project and urge your continued support for this project as well. It was under my term on the Calexico City Council that we formed a committee to walk this project through the city's processes and review any financial requests that may or may not arise in order for this project to become a reality. The development of this project within our city limits will allow for a large increase in sales tax revenue, which is sorely needed. I know I don't have to outline the positive impact this type of project would have in our city, but based on what I've heard today, maybe we do at some point. But an injection of sales tax revenue, employment, and economic activity cannot be stressed enough. The assistance in the development of business activity and economic growth was a priority for many council members, including your own. And as mayor and continues to be now a supervisor representing District 1. Again, this was written in 2010. I'll put that for the record because this is a project that I know has been in discussions for many, many years. And it has taken some time to be taken to the level of where it is now for your council to take the next steps in approving this project. So, as a resident, I'd like to read the following. Dear Mayor, I congratulate you and your fellow council members on the Grand Plaza Subcommittee and the Grand Plaza Subcommittee for your leadership and guidance on the advances that this project has undergone. It appears that your outstanding city manager, Oscar Rodriguez, and his management team have set the path for this project to be ready to come before you with the requested action items and for public input. This is a large project that will inject much-needed sales tax revenue, employment opportunities, and economic activity into our city's general fund. There may be some readjustment that the city's business environment may see, but in the larger scheme of things, similar projects of this size and with the stores involved in other areas have only served to increase both the revenue and aesthetic of the cities they are located in. It will surely capture a lot of the sales tax revenue that currently just flows through our city northbound, only leaving behind the traffic and road impact, but not the benefits. As a former chairman of the Board of Supes for Imperial County, former chairman of the Ivy Association of Governments, former chairman of the U.S.-Mexico Border Counties Coalition, former council member, and most importantly in my heart, former Calexico mayor, I urge your continued support of this project. Thank you for your consideration of my request. But I'll also add, the reason we don't build this at the new port of entry, and I hope it's not built at the new port of entry, is because that's on county property and the sales tax revenue would not come into the city.
That's correct.
The only reason we do not have a cleaner downtown, better streets, removing of the smells that have been mentioned, is because the city does not have the sales tax revenue to be able to pay for all of that. There cannot be any more urban decay than a dirt lot. And that's what we have right now at the project where this project is being proposed. There is no reason that this city does not deserve a better business environment, better stores, better looking stores, cleaner stores, and not just this project, but downtown. There's no reason we do not deserve that. We are tax-paying residents, we're tax-paying citizens, we love this city, but honestly, we do not have the investor who has decided, let's invest in this community because we see a potential. And we know that Mexicali is a big driving force. We always have known. That's been the driving force for downtown for many, many years. That's what pays for the mall further north. And I would say that this city's residents are tired of seeing all the traffic that goes north without seeing any of the benefits because they do not pay sales tax, they do not share sales tax revenues with the city of Calexico, and the only way to get there is through our city. So they're walking through our front door, going to the back party, but they're not leaving anything behind. They didn't bring anything to the party either. There are many, many reasons why for many years we have not been able to capture more growth. A lot of those have been some of the opposing arguments that you've heard today or the opposing parties that you've heard today. It's time for us as citizens, and we seek your guidance in this and your leadership role in making those decisions that will allow us to move forward and increase our sales tax revenue. That's our lifeblood. We cannot continue to be scared of a lawsuit or listening to things that clearly are only read in reports. We live here. We know. We know that there's a potential for this project to be successful. Just look at the gateway in San Isidro. I'm not going to go to the Mall of the Americas. Those aren't on the border. This is on the border. This is in our town, and we know that there's a consumer base that will shop there. If there is another outlet mall that has existed here in the past, that's the first I heard it was an outlet mall. I've always been told it's a swap meet, including by its operators. And the swap meet does not generate the amount of sales tax revenue that an established business, an established project of this nature would. Downtown does not generate, as much as I love this city, everybody here knows that the sales tax revenue, the true sales tax revenue that's generated downtown does not come back to city coffers. A lot of it is cash base, and we know. The Board of Equalization has been here many times. There's no way we can capture that until they become real honest and say, this is what I'm generating, and they're not going to do it. So an established business, an established project of this nature is the only way we can increase our sales tax revenue, pay for our streets, pay for the parks. I want to thank those that attended our soccer tournament this Saturday. You saw how these parks are. Dirt, the kids are playing in dirt. We have 4,000 kids playing in dirt on 3 different fields. But there's no other way to pay for it because we don't have the sales tax revenue. So again, studies and all that is good for the legal side of it, but at some point, it comes to you and you decide whether you change the face of this city and its economic future, or we continue to just think about projects and possibilities and hope for the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fuentes.
Thank you.
Anyone else in favor of the Ground Plaza Shopping Center project?
I take it you're not enforcing the 3-minute rule, right?
Well, after it was first undone, just allowed him to speak. No one else? All right, then, at 1:30, we will conclude the public session portion.
Can we just clarify a couple small points? 1 minute.
Yes, I believe the applicant wants to clarify
Okay.
a few points.
The first thing, as indicated in the staff report, we have begun negotiating with IID on net metering to install solar in the areas of the mall that could be supported. There are actually issues with which I agree wholeheartedly with the opponent. Don't like to see farmland go out of production for solar. So we're committed to trying to make that work. Also, the error he made, we were talking about the Los Americos, the Gateway Mall at the border in San Ysidro. Sorry, last minute editing. We weren't talking about the mall in Minneapolis. And third, someone who does a study for Walmart's is not looking at the same sort of retail environment as these outlet malls. Yucca Valley is not Calexico. Yucca Valley is kind of off in the middle of itself. We're next to Mexicali. So CEQA does not require that you choose one expert or the other. You know, it doesn't require that you decide which of the experts is telling the absolute correct version of reality. You have plenty of substantial evidence in the record to support the urban decay study that's here. Finally, I'd like to say we did add pictures of the swap meet. Swap meet is not open 7 days a week. Swap meet does not have the same sort of food court, entertainment, and it's not the destination type of an environment that this mall should be. I'm hopeful because I have worked with the city a long time on downtown and other places. My family paid for the pool one summer when there wasn't enough tax revenue to keep the pool open at the high school when we still had it. So we're hoping that this does drive the economy, integrates to downtown, and that we see a vibrant downtown Calexico again. That includes our mall. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keith. Okay, then comments from the public have concluded, and now any further comments will be addressed only by council members, beginning with former Mayor John Moreno.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Romero. I'd like to focus on a couple of positive things that this mall, I've read this packet. Oh, by the way, I was born and raised here too. My father was born and raised here too. Mr. Gonzalez graduated in 1946. I went to San Diego State, got a master's. Anyway, but I'm going to stop right there. This has been part of the Planning Commission for years. I remember when I was on the Planning Commission, we were studying. It was initially started, I believe, in 2000 or 2001. I can't remember which. But even back then, it was a big, viable part of the economic development of the city of Calexico. And I was for it, and I'm still for it today. I'm looking at some of the numbers that have been provided in the staff report, $140 million sales tax revenue, 617 part-time jobs, with hopefully most of those going to high school students or college students. in Calexico and Imperial County, 268 full-time jobs. I'm not sure why some people are against putting people to work. I am not. This economy, this time, this city needs to go back to work. We've got almost 30% unemployment rate, and it's been like that for a long time. Greed, sounds like greed to me. Check el remate. Where are they? Where are the Estradas? How come they're not here fighting for this? When Walmart wanted to sell groceries back in 2002, we launched a campaign to stop them because they were going to close downtown. Well, look at downtown, it's still there. Walmart is there, those other grocery stores are still there, except our family closed because my dad retired. But anyway, the fact of the matter is competition breeds success. I'm not sure where they're coming from on killing all these jobs that have the potential of putting people to work. Mr. Fuentes, former mayor, former supervisor, said it so eloquently in his rebuttal or in favor of this project. Excuse me, I'm talking, sir. Point of order. Point of order, I'm talking, sir. Dr. King, has he met with any staff? Has he met with you, Mr. Servin? Has he met with the city manager? Who is Dr. King? I want to know who he is. If he hasn't met with staff, he hasn't met with people, I mean, what validity does he have in his report? Viejas mentioned that Viejas was a ghost town. Well, they don't have a city of 1 million people next to Viejas. Again, I think it's about time that we make this big decision and that we move forward with progress in the city of Calexico. It'll be a much-needed area, or a much-needed area for people to shop, to work, to enjoy themselves. It'll be a calling card, a drawing into the city of Calexico. I see more positives than negatives that were presented here today. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I'm for this project, and I will make a motion to approve it once everybody has spoken. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. Immediate past Mayor Luis Castro.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, it seems to me that what has to be focused in this project is the plaza. Will cater to the Mexicali middle class and high middle class and rich people. Also, those shoppers that come to Calexico, we need to support. We need to support them. Why? Because the people from Mexicali, they like to buy, they like to come to Calexico and try to get and buy things like good brands. And I believe in this project, we have what they need. So we need to support, and definitely also City of Calexico, we need revenues, and I believe this is a good project. So that's the reason in this case, in this item, I'm supporting this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Castro. Councilman Bill Hodge.
Mr. Fuentes, I'm very impressed with your arguments, and I wholeheartedly support those arguments. On the other side, there were arguments and considerations to be made. I am very concerned about urban decay and the environment. I think we all are. But it comes down to jobs, revenue, jobs, revenue, jobs, revenue, jobs, revenue. And that has a multiplying effect. Urban decay, if we bring in the plaza, it will help mitigate against urban decay. I can imagine, once that plaza is built, that across the street, people, other investments will want to come in and get on the bandwagon. So it's a multiplying effect in a very positive way. Also, when we talk about the swap meet, and I teach economics on a high school level, that's a different economic niche, and you alluded to it, former Mayor Castro. That overall caters to a different social economic class of people as in contrast to the Grand Plaza that's coming. So the swap meet I want here, and the swap meet will continue to be here, and the downtown area also. Now, I just hope that we're not giving lip service, sort of my artistic or aesthetic side, to the shuttle. I really, really would like to see that happen. Really would like to see that happen. And that will also enhance and build the downtown area. So it's all a multiplier effect. And so I cannot, and I think you said it right, Mr. Fuentes, the reports are to be respected, but we're here, we know what's going on, and it's going to bring revenue. And then if I may just extend that, if and when we get the casino, along with the Grand Plaza, this is going to change historically Calexico. I'm very excited about it. So I support this project 100%, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Well, for one, I have to extend appreciation to the owners of the project for having the patience for all this time, not only in the patience, but also in the investment of the monies that have been already done to this date with the purchase of the properties out there and with all the consultants. Now, I will mention Yucca Valley. I am familiar with Yucca Valley. I do pass through there every once in a while. It does not have the population as a resource to support a project like what is proposed here for the Grand Plaza Shopping Center. It's good news that there's going to be a shuttle service between both downtown and this shopping center. It will be key in order so the shopping center and downtown can complement each other rather than competing against each other. The stores, if I'm not mistaken, if I recall correctly, they are stores that are not just retail, upscale retail, but they are also stores that some of them, if not all of them, or not most of them, are not currently established in the Imperial Valley. And so that is huge for not only for this project, but also for the city of Calexico, because when you have a brand name that you can go to, it does attract shoppers. Now, one of the things that before I came into council, so many projects have come and gone. I've heard about them, and the nightmare that something surfaced that would not permit it to go forward. And I know of 2 or 3 businesses, one that I heard for political reasons could not be established at the, what was then referred to, if it's not still, the Calexico Industrial Park that was managed by the CCAC. And there has been some other projects that they just could not establish themselves, and it was a different niche. It was not going to take dollars away from other businesses that were in the region, so it was creating new employment and obviously new revenues for the city and for the employees that impacts the region. The sales tax dollars, that what the projections are, all projections are just that, they're projections. There's no promises, there's no facts. With the projections themselves, somebody has decided to invest millions and millions of dollars to make this a reality. And if it's their money, it's not the city's money that they are investing on this, then why not extend that opportunity? Now, one of the things that was commented, I don't know if I think it was also by Mr. Fuentes, who said that right now the conditions of that area, how can it not be improved because it's already dirt anyway. That used to be a golf course. Sad to say, I used to play on that golf course. Now it's just a dirt lot. That project will give Calexico a huge facelift as far as something very aesthetic, where not only the people of Calexico, not only the people of Mexicali, and obviously the rest of the region, including the surrounding counties, they will come and visit and shop in this mall. The impact is so upside that I cannot imagine that or the potential impact is so upside that I really cannot imagine the downside, because right now, downside is that there's no revenues at all. Somebody will take on that property, invest on it, do something with it, and hopefully, like anything else, that is just a bottom line success. One of the things that we also have to consider is regarding the sales tax. Not only these people will get paid, they will also reinvest in the city of Calexico, and they themselves will, in a sense, be reinvesting because they will create more commerce with the stores that are in the area. And that in regard will even promote some of the other businesses, not just within the center itself, but also with the city of Calexico and the region. I myself, I do hope that some of the concerns that have been addressed are looked at, and possibly they can be justifiably mitigated. But for the time being, I do also favor this project tremendously, and I can only hope success in this whole thing for the benefit for the citizens of Calexico, because those revenues obviously from the sales tax will come into the city of Calexico, and the city can then expand, not only will expand on its service, and that's not just get everybody back to full-time status, but expand on the services. In that regard, to that end, City Attorney, if there's nothing else that needs to be checked into, I know that Mr. Moreno has already presented his motion for approval. And do I hear a second?
Second.
This would be for the first resolution. It's amended and restated Resolution 2011-124, certifying the final environmental impact report. We will-
Yes, they were not listed, but I did separate them. Thank you for sharing that. So that's your motion for the first one?
Yes, sir.
And second by
Second.
Mr. Hodge. Okay. All those in favor, please press your button to display your vote. Okay, here we go again. Let's just say, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0, with Mayor Pro Tem not present. Okay, they do work.
I move that we approve Resolution 2011-125, which is reapproving a general plan amendment. Is that, we already did that, right?
No, that's the next one you need to
That's the
do.
next one.
Okay.
So there's a motion for the approval for that resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, go ahead and please press the button to display your vote. All right, there it goes. 4-0. Next resolution.
It's actually the ordinance 2011-1137 that's amended and restated, and council would be making a motion to waive full reading and introduce by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please press the button to display your answer, your vote. Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, I will read the title of the ordinance. It's an ordinance of the City of Calexico, California, approving the zone change pre-zone to change the zoning classification for the Calexico Grand Plaza project area to CH Commercial Highway. Thank you.
Motion
Okay,
to approve
thank you.
Resolution 2011-126.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Moreno, second by Mr. Hodge. Press the button to display your vote. Who's missing? Oh, Mr. Council. Okay, 4-0.
Motion to approve Resolution number 2011-127,
27.
amended and restated, reapproving commercial development review.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Moreno, second by Mr. Hodge. Please press the button to display your vote. Four zero.
Motion to approve Resolution 2011-128, which is the variance in the proposed building height.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Moreno, second by Mr. Hodge. Please press the button to display your vote. All right, and we'll just, there it goes. Mr. Hodge?
I'm sorry.
Okay, passes 4-0.
And I believe there's another one here for the Resolution 2011-04.
Where's that?
which is,
No, I believe you're done. Those
Oh, that
may
was
be
it.
the Planning Commission resolutions.
Okay, since the only item on the agenda on the regular session has concluded, we will now continue into closed session.
Actually, I think the closed session can be removed.
Okay, then we'll remove the closed session and we can adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Good luck.